Welcome to this week's update. I'm going to show you guys what's going on in the 2-week challenge, some things I've been making for the 2-week challenge, and I don't know, maybe some stuff on the side that I've been putting some work into when I don't have to bang my head against the 2-week challenge. The current state of the park is getting pretty heavy, so I've been trying not to build in it as much as possible so that when I port everything in, it can just work and I don't have to worry about everything being nearly as buggy and slow as it currently is. But we've been a little hard at work trying to make everything come together. The Wild Mouse has custom supports and actually it looks kind of sick, to be honest. This loop is really cool now too. We've got a little bit of a seating area, playful pirates if you will. I think more of the area is starting to come together. We still have some question marks though. This chair swing needs to be put down somewhere. And I think the helter skelter off in the corner that I said I would do still has yet to be done. I'll probably get around to that during a few of the weeks to clean up the whole park basically. Now what's mostly new is coming into this side of the park. Us three have been hard at work getting this main area started up, and we've got some new attractions in here. We've got a pretty sizable swinging ship covered with some foliage, which actually looks kind of cool. Here we see some of these planters being used again. These are the planters that come from my kit actually. Wyatt has been hard at work doing the recreation for the retracking of the wooden coaster that we were tasked with. He has put together a bunch of really cool looking truss which goes over the entrance to this area, and I think it looks really cool. Despite this being very tight, the whole coaster actually fits really well in this little area. And over here is where I've been putting my efforts. For our tracked ride that was required, I decided to go for a go-karts. It does a loop around this area, which I decided would be like the palace grounds or like the general area. I have some notes for what's going where eventually, so you can enjoy those. The plan is to have like 5 or 6 scenes, which basically serve as different highly themed grounds for the go-karts to go through. And sadly, I never see this working when it's actually open because its prestige makes it so that it can't reach a certain point, and it's really annoying. It has a 100 scenery bonus but only a 233 ride experience, so it's really hard to get this any higher than that. Guests will never ride this for some reason, and perhaps people have been talking about this for a while, but I only just got around to understanding what's going on here. So I've really only been working with some of the base pieces because I can accomplish a lot with them. These are basically all gridded, and by using them creatively, I was able to make a pretty interesting and, unique queue. I like what I was able to accomplish with this, although I wouldn't necessarily suggest you do stuff like this all the time. I'm only engaging in some gridded structures because of the 2-week challenge, and it's actually quite challenging in order to work with stuff that I'm not very used to. We do of course have a really cool bridge that I made. I even blueprinted it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it because it's at an angle, but it's a pretty sick, just general idea. Getting a little closer view here, there's actually more than meets the eye for this particular ride, and Doodoo has been working pretty hard at getting it looking as good as it currently does. Rides in this general area of the park have a tendency to not perform very well. That's just kind of how it goes over in these parts. The only ride that's been relatively popular is this coaster, which we're still thinking of a name for, but for right now I think Death Fears one is kind of funny because it's a play on the name of the player that made it for this challenge. I did add some of my own prefabricated buildings to this project because they are my own. So you see this one in particular. This is actually on my workshop and I made it a long time ago in a different coloring for Lunatica. Which is basically a medieval project in and of itself. There's actually subtle glowing that comes from the windows. It's kind of hard to tell. There's a little bit of a glow for it. I haven't done much more with lighting for this area yet, but I'm pretty happy with some of these things that we've been adding here and there. I did add some of these dragon torches. I didn't realize they were red actually. That's pretty cool. Next up, you may have actually seen this. It's a blink and you'll miss it type thing, but this was also in Imaginaria. This is the ruined medieval cottage. And I'm thinking for this general area, this section here before the tunnel, I'm gonna theme it to something adjacent to maybe a ruins or an overgrown area, like a magical sort of forest vibe. The problem is, if I want to go with that, I need to plant trees that are relatively close to this track, so I'll need to be very careful about it. In real life, it wouldn't really fly, so the thing about that is that branches can fall and hit guests on the head while they're going through the layout. So I might just go for something kind of lower to the ground, have a bunch of foliage, maybe some dead trees or some stumps, so that it looks more like this was an area that previously had been burned down, which is something I'm actually very familiar with in real life, having gone camping so many times. I even have a cute little tunnel over here that stops right where the supports do, so it feels very intentional. But anyway, those are my general thoughts of how this is going so far. We have a rough path in from one side, a rough path in from the other, and I need to find a place for my new drink stall, which I want to show you right now. Ta-da! Here it is. This is what I'm going to call the rumor mill. It is going to be a medieval drink stall, specifically that sells coffee and also newspapers. And it's going to kind of be a combination of several different concepts, styles, and all that. And something which kind of got added on the side is this watermill in the back. So my initial intention with this was to only have one mill on the front, and quickly grew to the idea that, like, hey, they have water mills in game when I search up mill. Might as well incorporate that one too. So here it is. It's even got some animation going on with it. I have Tagi to thank for this, actually. I love what he did with his stream, so I did something very similar with mine. Something that you'll note that this kind of is made up of is that all of these are individual pieces. So let's have a look here. This is a rotating platform with water shapes. If I take one of these out, these are the corners. So they kind of form to make a circle. You stagger them a little bit so that you have a little bit of this water lapping effect, and then putting it right in its place in subtle ways and subtle shapes gets this really cool looking effect, where it has the feeling that the water is moving tons. And from a distance, this looks great. We've also got a lot of these that are animated looping platforms that are kind of swirling, if you will. I like that part too. It's just a little bit of everything here. Again, I can't suggest more the idea that having down a blueprint of somebody else's and just kind of taking it apart, putting together what works, can go such a long way towards making your own builds look interesting. I'm kind of ignoring the main structure of this thing. This is meant to be like a two-tiered medieval building that works kind of halfway as a shop front, which is something that you would see a lot in medieval times, actually. Specifically during the Renaissance era, when there were these types of houses within the castle walls, instead of having an official marketplace, which they would, but they would also have houses that actually had built into them a little shop place down below. And so this is using part of the house itself to cover over where guests would queue up for coffee. And the general theme behind this is going to run like the mill up here or off back is going to be the kinetic rotation that's required to grind up the espresso beans that they use in the coffee made here. You know, it's just a really fun concept all around. And then of course I have enough space for a bunch of seating later. I haven't quite put that in yet, but that is planned for the future. Specifically, this spot right here is where I would clamor for every time, because man, does that creek sound so pretty after a while. I think I was literally falling asleep during stream just listening to it. And that's the rumor mill in its current state. I expect it to take another 3 or 4 days. I do work tomorrow, so I'll probably be brain dead for a lot of the next day, but I'll try and get as much done as possible. Here, however, I've made a little bit of progress on this coaster. You're not going to see the POV yet, but this is a little sneak peek at what is eventually to come. And we'll end on this from the last video. I showed off the New Age arcade, which is a very cool building that kind of looks Art Deco-ish, and it combines that 80s retro theme. I have some things that I added to the sides to kind of give it this more functional feel, and I feel like it's finally in a completed blueprint state. So if you want to put this in your park, you can now. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.